So today I will be talking about building a legacy of faith in the professional arena, and it's really connected to the theme we have, which is Christian professionalism. So we're going to be talking about that. In 1905, there was a German sociologist. Anybody who has been through the university, who has done anything in sociology or political science or economics, would have come across the name Max Weber. So Max Weber wrote an article, a two-part article, which later became a book after he died in 1920. And the title of that work was The Protestant Ethic. And I want you to pay attention to the words. The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. And this book came about because he decided to do an inquest or an investigation into why Europe was prospering during the Industrial Revolution and other parts of the world were not prosperous. So Asia, I don't think he was even thinking about Africa at that time. I don't know what this place was around that time. But he was wondering why Europe was seeing a lot of prosperity, but other parts of the world wasn't seeing that. And when he did the research, he realized that the Protestant values, and when we talk about the Protestant movements, it's a simple thing. Before, when Christianity started, we had only one church in the world. For a long time, it was just the Catholic Church. And then the Catholic Church divided into two. So we have the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church that you know, the Roman Catholic Church. And then later on, some people broke away from the Western Catholic Church, led by Martin Luther, and those people, we call them Protestants, because there were some things in the Catholic Church they were not happy with, and they protested, and they left. So they were named Protestants. And almost everybody else who is a Christian, who is not a Catholic, is in that category of Protestants. So Methodists, Presbyterians, now Charismatics, all of us are seen as Protestants or part of the Protestant movement. So Max Weber found out or concluded that there were some principles or values that the Protestant movement espoused. So values of hard work, discipline, frugality. All of these fostered a certain mindset that cherished productivity and personal responsibility. And so he saw these values not only as practical values, but as expressions of faith, suggesting that one's professional life could be a calling or a way of honoring God. So the faithful pursuit of work wasn't just about personal success, but it was also a moral duty to steward our talents responsibly. So many times, a lot of people will tell us that, when you go to Europe, they're hardworking. The average European doesn't lie. That's what they say. I haven't met many Europeans, but many times they say they don't like. They work hard. They are time conscious. They are all of that. All these values that are foundations for the European prosperity, according to Max Weber, emerged from the Protestant movement. Those were values that were translated from the Protestant movement, and it really affected the development of Europe. So even a lot of the top universities in Europe, almost any top university in the world, whether it's Oxford, Cambridge, all of them were Christian institutions. And some of them still on paper are. So if you check the motto of Oxford University, you'll find that their motto is something about the Lord is our light, something like that. If you go to the US and you check Harvard, Yale, and you read their history, they were all Christian institutions. When you come to Ghana, you realize that if I ask you to name 3 top high schools in Ghana, I'm sure 2 out of 3, if not all the 3, will be schools that Christian missionaries founded in Ghana. All right, so I'm sure you are thinking of some of this. I don't want to mention anybody's school, but almost all the top schools in Ghana are Christian institutions. Private universities, majority of them were founded by churches and all that. So what I'm saying is that in most instances, wherever Christianity goes, it affects the quality of life of the place. It affects the success and the prosperity of the place. So far, it is only in Africa that we have not been able to do that very well. Okay, that we've not been able to do that very well. But the effect of practical Christianity is that it's supposed to reflect wherever we find ourselves. Our Christianity must lead to the transformation of the place, and it must reflect in what we do there. So we're going to read a scripture from Matthew chapter 16, verse 24 to 28. Much of what we'll do will be based on the scripture. Matthew chapter 16, 24 to 28. And Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for me will find it." And then he says that, let me skip the verse 26. Let me read the verse 28. 28 says that, "Truly I tell you," this is one of the most difficult scriptures in the Bible, this particular verse 28. "Truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." So Jesus was telling the gathering there who were with him that there are some people among us here who will not die. They will never die. They will not taste death. They are not going to experience death until I come, or Jesus comes in his glory. That is the second coming of Christ, when he will eventually come. He says that at that time, there were some people in the crowd who were not going to die until he comes back. So was he implying that those people were going to be alive? So does it mean that those people are alive now? So you see them, they are over 2,000 years. Do you know anybody who is over 2,000 years? So it makes the scripture a bit difficult. But certainly he was not talking about physical death. He was not talking about physical death. He was talking about the fact that these people were going to leave footprints. They were going to live their lives in such a way that they are going to leave footprints that will never go out of fashion, that will prevail and stand the test of time. And so even though they will die physically, their works will endure, and we are still going to experience them as if they are alive. As if they are alive. So it is this possibility of having enduring footprints that I am referring to as legacy. So how do we live our lives in such a way that we too, even when we are dead, we will still be present? Or when we go to a place and we function, when we go to our workplaces, when we go to our communities, are we going to leave footprints there? Are we going to leave footprints in our communities? When we live and we are not there, what are people going to say? What are people going to think about us? What impact are we going to make in our lifetime, in the workplace? Because when you say you are a Christian and you go to work, we must see that you have come to work. And that is what Jesus is talking about. These people I'm dealing with, there are some people here, because of the work they are going to do with the investments I'm making in them, they will never die. So there are three concepts of legacy, and as we are applying to our professional lives. The first one is input. So when Jesus says that these people are not going to taste death, he's talking about the inputs. So inputs I'm defining as the ingredients you bring to the table. So you can be invited to a party. Okay, somebody can invite you to a party, a birthday party, whatever party. And when you go to the party, there will be people who go to the party with the sole purpose of going to do what? Going to eat. Okay, they are going to eat. They just go there and they go to eat. And then there will also be the people who go to the party, but their main aim is that they are the ones bringing the food for people to come and eat. So if I'm doing a party and I've invited you to come, I will provide the food, right? When you the one coming, you are coming to eat. So what are you bringing to the table? So when I talk about input, I'm talking about the ingredient that you bring to the table. So you just go to the workplace because of the salary you will get, or you're going to the workplace because you are taking something to the workplace that your people will benefit from. So the first one is input. And then the second concept of legacy is influence. Influence. That is the recipe you bring to the table. The recipe you bring to the table. So the inputs can be, let's say, if the food they are going to serve is jollof, it can be the things that are used to prepare the jollof. But maybe you may not have jollof, you may not have tomatoes, you may not have whatever. But you can go and tell them that, oh, if you mix the tomatoes and you put this amount of oil and you manage the pepper this way, this will be the outcome. So the first one is the input. So what gifts, what skills, what knowledge are you bringing to the workplace? What contribution are you coming to make? And then the influence is primarily about your attitude, the attitude that you are bringing to the workplace or to your professional environment. And then we also talk about impact. Impact. That is the crumbs you leave at the table. So that would be your actual work output. So when you finish eating, what are we going to see after you have finished eating? Or after you have done your work output. So input is about the ingredients you bring to the table. That will be your gifts, your knowledge, your skill sets. Influence is the recipe you bring to the table. That's primarily your attitude. Because there are people who will have all the right ingredients, but if you ask them to prepare, to cook the meal, to cook the food, it will be very bad, even though they have all the right ingredients. So you have to work with both. So you must have some gifts, you must have some skills, and then you must have some attitude. And then also your work output is also very important. The quality of your work is very, very important. So Jesus is saying that if we want to be his disciples, we must deny ourselves. That is, I think I skipped this part. So the verse 24, look, Matthew 16, the same scripture we read, the verse 24 says, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. Deny themselves, take up their cross and follow me. And then it says that whoever wants to save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for me will find it. Matthew 16, 24, 25. So the first thing Jesus is saying is that if we are going to live our lives in such a way that our works will endure, our faith, our Christianity will reflect in the work we do, the first thing is that we have to deny ourselves. We have to deny ourselves. And that simply means that all of us have to understand that life is not about you. It's not about me. It's not about you. Because many times people come to the work environment and they want to be pampered. They want to be pampered. They come to work and they want to be friends. It's okay to build some friendships, but you didn't go to work because of friendship. So it's not about us. Life is just one big puzzle, and each one of us is just a piece of that puzzle within it. So our actions and our words and our choices, all of them fit into a larger picture, which impacts others sometimes in ways that we never even see. So when you find yourself in any work environment, you must know that fundamentally, primarily, you are there because there is a job that needs to be done. We are not there to pat people on the back, to encourage you. That's not why you go to work. You are not there, especially some of us who are managers, and sometimes you are so bothered, you get so angry that people come to work and maybe they didn't come to greet you. And you are, why didn't you greet me? But you are not there to receive greetings. And the other people too. You go to work and they ask you, why did you come to work late? And you say, oh, it's because of this and this and that. And then your boss is not happy. And then you go out somewhere and say, he doesn't even have heart. Oniakuma. He doesn't care. All he cares about is his work. Of course, you went there to work. We are not at home. You are at work. And the reason we gather at work is to work. So it's not about you as an individual. It's not about me as an individual. There is something to be done. So Jesus says that when you go into the professional arena, deny yourself, throw your ego away, and just go there with the intention that I'm here to work. It's not about me, it's about the work. So sometimes you are going to get some very hard feedbacks. Some of you go to work, you've done the work, and all you want to hear is that your work is good. Meanwhile, the work is not good. Oh, you are here. Meanwhile, the work is not good. But that is what you... So when the person tells you that the work is not good, then... Now, how do we say etiko in English? Now, etiko pie. I don't like that. It's too osipot. It's no. This is Ghana. No, etiko pie. Meanwhile, they are telling you that the work is not good. It's not personal. It's about the work. And if all of us can throw ourselves away and focus on delivering that kind of excellent output, then we know that we are on our way to building a legacy. Because there was a time Jesus told Peter that, you Satan, get behind me. Can you imagine that you come to work and you think you've worked hard. We've removed all your intestines, you've removed your stomach to do the work. And then you bring it and the guy looks at it and says, this is rubbish. It's not a nice thing. But really, it's rubbish. It's rubbish. And you have to accept it and ask the pet, okay, so how is it rubbish? Even if you get hurt a little, okay, you get hurt a little, you put yourself together and come back, okay, so how do we improve it? And you get the work done, because that is why we are there. And Jesus says that you have to deny yourself. You have to deny yourself. Because he said all these things before concluding that there are some of the people there who are not going to taste death. And that is why when I mention Peter, you all know who Peter is. When I mention other people, you all know who John is. Because even though they are dead, but the works they did are still with us, and we can talk about them. But some of us, when we go into our families, recently somebody was doing an analogy and said that by the fourth generation, you are not important. Nobody will remember you. So you look at your parents. How many of you know your grandparents? Or you met your grandparents? Your grandparents' parents. Your grandparents' parents. Do you care about them? Do you know who they are? Do you know where they lived? But they are not important anymore. They don't exist in your consciousness. In the next 200 years, none of us will be here. Even if you look at the history of Ghana, for example, there are some presidents we remember very well. We don't have to build any statue, but we know them. They don't have any statue. You don't have to build a statue, but you know them. And there are some of our presidents too. When we mention their names, some of you, unless you have done political science or something, when I mention some of the names, you wonder, who is this guy? Because it's not about statues. Please, I want to go home safely. So that is the first thing. So we deny yourself. And then Jesus also says that we should take up our cross. You should take up your cross. So you deny yourself, and because you've denied yourself, the next thing is that you have to take the cross. So the cross means that we have to be willing to really endure hardship, make sacrifices, and take responsibility. Endure hardship, make sacrifices, and take responsibility. So you should really decide that this responsibility that I have, this work that I'm doing, I'm really going to give it up my all, make all the sacrifices that I need to make, and then you get it done. So if there is a new skill I have to learn, I'm going to learn it. If nobody is doing the work, I'm going to work, whether somebody is doing it or not. But because it's not about me, it's about achieving a certain result, getting the work done. And that is what we need to look at. And then Jesus also says that we should lose our lives. He says that if you want to save your life, you will lose it, right? But if you want to save your life, then you have to lose it. You have to lose it. He says that whoever wants to save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for me will find it. So, losing your life simply means that you have to release yourself. You have to let yourself go. After denying yourself and taking up the cross, you now have to let yourself go. So you have to give out your gifts, your skills, your knowledge, your personality. That is what you bring to bear. You have to put all these things you have to work. You must let your life reach out in service to people. And you have to be aware of what you have that you are bringing to the table, and you let it flow. But in doing this, as we said earlier, you are denying yourself, because Jesus says that if you do this for who? For me, for him, not for yourself. So it's for a cause that is bigger than you. A cause that is bigger than you. So if you go to a workplace, it is not about you. You have to understand the cause. So if you work in banking, or if you work in customer service, you work wherever, the reason you are there is not for you to be pumped up, but it is for a cause. It is for a cause. It is for the work that you are doing. If you work in an Asian restaurant and you are a waiter and somebody comes, it's not about you. Some of the customers, we can be very annoying, but you are not doing the work for yourself. You have to look at what is required of you as a waiter. You have to be tolerant, you have to be humble, you have to smile even when there is no reason to smile, even when the customer is being annoying. You have to do that, because that is what is required. It's not about your mood, how you feel or how you don't feel. It's not about whether you slept well or you didn't sleep well. It's not about whether somebody has broken your heart or your mother is sick or whatever is happening. You've come to work and it's for the cause, for the greater good. That is what you have to do. But if you are working hard and you are doing all of that, but the reason you are working hard is because you want to dominate other people, you want people to speak well of you, you are doing eye service, then that is not going to lead to building that legacy. So we must always seek to understand what the big picture is. What the big picture is, and let's play according to that. Let's do that. So in the case of Peter, for example, you remember what happened to Peter. Peter was part of Jesus' crew, and when when it was really time for him to show himself and his name came up, Peter denied Jesus, right? Because at that time, it was about him. He was trying to survive. So, him, I've never even spoken with him before. Because he knew that Jesus was in trouble. And if he identified with him, he was also going to be in trouble. So, he said that, no, I've never seen him before. But eventually, Jesus restored him. Because when Jesus said that there are some here who will not taste it, Peter was there, John was there, they were all there. So, when the things become really difficult, you ask yourself, is it about me? There are some people, when they go to work, when it's around, if they close at 5, by 4:45, they are looking at their time. So if you call them at 4:40 and you give them an assignment, they say, this guy, how dream to do? How dream to do? You know. But the thing has come and it needs to be addressed. One time I was trying to submit something in a ministry, one of the ministries. And per their adverts, the deadline was on that day at 5 p.m. Then I got to the place at 4:45, 4:45 p.m. And the lady was closing the office. And I said, hey, I'm here to submit my bid. So, but we've closed. I said, but it's 4:45. She said, by the time I go to the lift and the lift comes and I get down, it will be 5 o'clock. And I said, well, I'm here, so you have to accept it. So she took it, but I don't know whether she even entered it in the system or not. But you don't work like that. You don't work because it's not about you. It's not about your convenience. Some people say, oh, if I don't leave at 3 o'clock and I wait, there will be traffic. So let me hurry up and go home. Then why did you go to work? It's so amazing that sometimes people come to work and you give them work and they are angry that you have given them work. You are not allowing them to rest. They came to work and you are giving them work and you are giving them work and you are giving them work. So if you, by around 11, 2 p.m., 3 p.m., when you see them, they are frowned because they want to rest. They want to just be there. Then why did you go to work? But if we want to be Christians who bring our faith to bear on our work, then we really have to work hard. Some of the concepts that we apply in Christianity, and that was what Max Weber's thing was about. So for instance, Christians normally have, we emphasize a lot of discipline and self-control in the way we do our things. And so Weber found out that that thing that makes Christians want to control ourselves and all of that, when people are working and they make money, they don't spend the money. They reinvest their money. Even when they feel they must spend the money. Because if you know how to fast and you are denying yourself of food and other pleasures to be able to fast to maintain your spirituality, when they are working and they translate that discipline to their work. So somebody would have some capital, they will do their work, and then they reinvest the money, and then on and on and on. If it thinks about time consciousness, being conscious of time. If you study the world, everywhere that the people are poor, the people are also not time conscious. Everywhere that the people are poor. So even in the US, if you go to the black communities, where a lot of the people are poor, it's the same thing there. And you go to another part, and they are very time conscious. But all of these are things that are legacies of Christianity. If you study the whole Bible, every single thing that God did, or God, it's within a timeline. The Bible, you come across phrases like in the fullness of time. That means when the time was right. So why is it that when we are working, we think that time is an advice, time is an opinion, opa and alpha? You know, it can't work like that. So if you are a Christian and you go to work, the testimony shouldn't just be that, oh, as for Terry, he's a nice guy, he's humble. That shouldn't be my testimony at work. I don't go to work to be nice. I go to work to work. So the testimony should be that, oh, as for this guy, he's very diligent. When you give him work, he takes his time and he does the work well. That should be your testimony as a Christian. You don't go to work and then 4 o'clock you start telling them, hey, I'm in a hurry. We have a conference at church, so I have to close. So you do the work shabbily and you go to church. Do you think God will be happy with your work? So you do the work well, and then when you go to church and you are praising God and you are thanking God, it's holistic. You know, it's holistic, and we do that. So one of the people who were there, so Jesus said that if you do all of this, then you will save your life to the extent that you are not going to taste death. So that even after 65, or how old is Ghana? 65, 66 years. After, how old are we? 60, whatever. After 67 years of whatever, you don't need a statue for your name to be remembered. You know, you don't need a statue for you to, your life will still be alive because the things you do will still be relevant. Anytime somebody goes into the organization, even if you left, even if you are no longer there, they will remember you. I know when we were in secondary school, for instance, sometimes you go to some of the places, like you go to a dormitory, or you go to, you go to a washroom, and then you see Jempopo was here some. You see something like that, but you don't even know who the Jempopo was. That's the legacy they are leaving. But you go to some other schools, and they mention somebody's name because that person, when the person was there, the person collected all the awards. So anybody who comes to the school gets to hear about this person. And so I don't know what you did. Maybe some of you are here. You wrote your names on somewhere that you were here some. So one of the people who were there when Peter was speaking later said, when Jesus was speaking, that is Peter, later gave us a blueprint that we can follow to also leave a legacy. So we're going to read quickly. 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 5 to 11. 2 Peter 1, 5 to 11. This is the last thing I'll talk about, and then we are done. My time, I have to be on time. So that later, when he came, he was on time. So Peter says that for this very reason, I won't go through that part. Make every effort to add to your faith. So things that he wants us to add to our faith. Talks about virtue or goodness. And to virtue, we must add knowledge. And to knowledge, we must add self-control. And to self-control, we must add perseverance. And to perseverance, we must add godliness. And to godliness, we must add mutual affection or brotherly kindness. And to mutual affection, we must add love. So these are the things that if we do, according to one of the people who heard Jesus talk about not dying, not tasting death till he comes, Peter says that we need to definitely have our faith, because all the things we are talking about, he says you are putting them on top of your faith. So your faith as a Christian, your convictions, your philosophy, the things you believe about Christ, and the things you understand about Christ, all these things you have to work them into your philosophy of life, and these things should govern your life, the things you do, and all that. So you add to faith virtue. Virtue is simply about excellence, moral excellence. So when you are supposed to report to the office at 8 o'clock, if the office says you should get to work at 8 o'clock, you have to get to work at 8 o'clock. If you get to work at 8:15, and sometimes I remember that many years ago when I used to work, and when you get to work and you are supposed to sign your name in the attendance book and you are late, you're supposed to get there at 8 o'clock, but you have gotten there around 8:15. Then you open the attendance book and you realize that the last person who came at 7:45, and you are there at 8:15. So you look at your left, you look at your right, there is nobody there, and then you write. There was a guy in my office. So normally when he comes, he looks at the last time and he only adds 2 minutes to it. He adds 2 minutes to it. So he writes that. But if you are a virtuous person, you are going to write the right time. Because it gets to a point, if your work is even good, it wouldn't even be so much about, nobody will bother about the time you go to work. When you go to work, you make an impact. But if you are lying, why do you lie about something like that, which will not really bring you any benefit? Normally, I tell people that if you want to sin, then the sin must really be worth it, right? Because small sin, big sin, they all have consequences. So, anyway, we are not encouraging that. So the next thing is knowledge. Knowledge. So to our faith, we have to really add knowledge to our faith. And for the purposes of work, sometimes people come for interviews and you ask them questions. So what are your hobbies? And they say, I like reading. And I ask them, so what kind of things do you read? So I like to read The Power of a Praying Wife. And then it's a Good Morning, Holy Spirit. These are all good books, right? But in the workplace, what am I going to do with The Power of a Praying Wife? Especially if you are fresh from school and I'm looking for some people who can sell, people who can write proposals, people who can give me ideas about how to sell more products. So I ask you questions, so how can we sell this? And you say, I like to read these books and all that. So if you are going to excel in the workplace, then you really have to take your time and build your knowledge capital for the work you are going to do. The first thing about knowledge is that you must learn yourself. Learn about yourself. Get to know the kind of person you are, how your mind works, the things you are good at, the things you are not good at. So self-knowledge is very important. One of the things that really helped me when I started work, even as a national service person, I knew I could write. And I'd gone into a research company. The first assignment they gave me was to go to the field and get people to come and be part of a focus group discussion. Me. And if you know me, you understand why I said me. So they gave me this questionnaire, and then I get out of the office, and for 3 days, they haven't seen me in the office because I wasn't getting the people. How can I just meet somebody and talk to and go, hello, my name is Terry, I work for... Some of them, when you go, they think you are even coming to beg. So the moment you start talking now, then, hey, I'm busy. Once I get that, I'm done. So they come and say, oh, I'm not getting the people. Oh. So I had to position myself well. So I could write. I had done a lot of things while at the university. So I knew where most companies are located in Accra. I knew the names of CEOs. Some of them I had even met and all of that. So within the company, I decided to now start working on learn how to write research proposals. I had to learn how to develop questionnaires, how to develop discussion guides, how to write the reports. I don't like figures, I don't like graphs, I don't like charts to create them. But if you give me the charts and the graphs and I have to write a report based on that, I could do it well. So I had to quickly decide that, okay, these are the things I'm going to learn fast. Research, and that became my work. So anytime there was a proposal to be done, they would call me. There was a report to be done. They never sent me to the field to go and do that work again. But some of you, when you go to national service, all that you'll be doing is to buy wachi and kinky for people. Don't do so. You learn about yourself, how your mind works. If I mention the word like goat right now, some of you will have to spell. You have to spell it to know what I'm talking about. So you will see GOAT, right? There are some too, they will see a goat that has been tied somewhere. Their mind is very picturesque. And there are some, they will not just see a goat that is tied somewhere. Some will actually see the fufu with light soup and the goat arranged on it. Some will see the kebab. It's because of how our mind works. So if you tell me goat, I have to know how to spell it. If you mention your name to me and I'm not familiar with the name, I have to learn how your name is spelled. There are some people too, they have to look at you and say, okay, this guy, his nose is big. So it is your nose that they will use to remember you. Me, I will not look at your nose. I will not look at anything. I will have to know the spelling to remember you. And then some will look at how you are dressed to remember and all of that. So you must understand your personality and how your system works. Then that's the first knowledge. And the other one is that you must now know how you can use that personality to excel in the work that you are doing, like I did. And then self-control, my time is up, so I won't explain all the other things. So self-control, self-control. Self-control is normally when in church, when we talk about self-control, they talk about sex, but it's broader than just that. Self-control is that you are tired, but the client needs the thing by 9 a.m. and it's 10 p.m. So what are you going to do? You have to do the work. You are tired when you can put your feet in some cold water and get the thing done. That is self-control. I'm tired, I'm sleepy, but I have to do the work. That is how you build a legacy of faith in the workplace, in the professional arena. Perseverance. So then sometimes we face all kinds of problems, difficult circumstances, and you don't know what to do about it. You have no knowledge about it. But you have to persevere. You have to persist and look for solutions to solve the problems. That is how you get remembered. All right? So our time is up, and I'll end it here. Maybe later, when we have the questions and answers, we can say a few more. But all of us should endeavor that we are going to live out our faith. If you believe in something, I can't see your beliefs. I can only see your beliefs by your actions. And so let all of us, wherever we find ourselves, we should let people see that we have arrived. And when we leave, people would feel our inputs, they'll feel our influence, and they'll feel our impact. Thank you very much. God bless us all.
Come on, let's celebrate the man of God better.